Hey, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's Sarveda Gyana Series. At Sarveda, we're inspired to integrate the timeless wisdom of yoga and mindful living into our daily lives to help navigate modern challenges while maintaining balance and harmony. We host regular webinars on yoga, sound therapy, alternative healing practices, and philosophical topics to bring these teachings into practice. Additionally, our online store, Sarveda.com, offers a variety of courses and products to support and enhance this mindful lifestyle. Today, we have a very special guest, and she's Saatvika Mangaram. So, just a little bit about Saatvika. Saatvika Mangaram has been teaching yoga since 2014 and has been practicing alternative therapy and healing since 2015. She's a certified yoga acharya, a certified EFT, NLP, and inner child healing practitioner, a Reiki grandmaster, and a tarot life coach. With yoga and the above mentioned healing modalities, she conducts sessions for people to experience a deep level of healing, to overcome negative past experiences, and find peace and happiness within themselves. Thank you so much, Satvika, for joining us today. It's really a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me here.
It's lovely. Okay, so Satvika, today we're going to talk about emotional freedom technique and how it helps with our emotional healing and well-being. So, could you tell us a little bit about what is EFT and some of its benefits, etc.?
Yeah, so EFT is an alternative healing therapy. EFT, it's an acronym. It
Mm-hmm.
stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. So as the name suggests, which it's quite self-explanatory, emotional freedom technique. Now, a lot of us are carrying a lot of emotional baggage, either consciously or unconsciously. And sometimes, when incidents have happened which are beyond our ability to process them by ourselves, we carry it as trauma. So, this healing modality helps us release all of that from our system so that we don't carry those negative experiences into the future and we don't recreate experiences that align us in those frequencies again because we have that energetic shift within. Now, it's also called tapping. And the reason why it's called tapping is because we use our fingertips to actually tap on the meridian points of the body. Very similar to acupressure or acupuncture, but in those methods, we use needles. So, this is much gentler. It uses a combination of talk therapy as well as tapping on those same meridian points, which are closest to the surface of the skin. So, through this combination of talk therapy and tapping, we get to the root cause of all these emotional blocks, all these emotional issues which are stuck inside of us, and clean it out at the deep subconscious level. Now, should I go on, Priya? Is there anything else?
Please continue, Satvika.
Okay, thank you. So, now in the language of yoga, we know that energy channels in our body are called nadis for people who are in the yogic following the practice of yoga. And in the same thing, the same concept in Eastern, in Eastern practices are called meridians. So it's the same thing. It's just energy channels. And there are certain points on the body where the energy channels are closest to the surface of the skin. For example, over here, the end of the eyebrow, below the eye, above the lips. So there are like these specific points which we tap on. And when we tap on those points, there is a kind of an energetic shift that happens because it releases the blocked energy from our system. Since we are tapping on the meridians itself, it gets the energy rolling out. Now, if you all can come on video, I'm going to show you how to do the tapping process before we actually talk more about this. And you can do it with me so that you learn it. Because if you know these tapping points, you can use it anytime on your own. So the reason is if I see you, I can tell you if you're doing it right. Okay. If you're traveling or for any reason you cannot switch on your video, I completely understand. But if you really want to get the most out of this session, then definitely participate fully and make sure that you're doing it right. So we have a few tapping points. Let's start with what we call the karate chop. Okay, for now, just take this. We'll talk more about EFT as a method and a practice in a bit, but let's come to the tapping points. First, let's tap on what we call the karate chop. So you use all your fingertips of one hand, it doesn't matter which hand, and on the side of your palm. So everyone whose video is off as well, please do it so that you actually learn it, because you only learn when you actually try it out for yourself. By watching, it's not really going to make much difference. Okay? So tap along with me. Then take two fingers to the start of any eyebrow. Doesn't matter this side, this side. For all of these points, you can do it either side. You can even do both. If you feel the stress is too high or the emotion is too high, you can even do both. Then come to the end of the eyebrow at the temple. Below the eye, you can feel that bone. The upper lip. Below the lip. The start of your collarbone. This side, doesn't matter. Then under the arm, below the armpit. Again, you can do it cross if it's easier like that. So it's on the trunk, on the side, below the armpit. Then come to your hand, take one finger, keep your hand like this at the side of your thumbnail. So the side edge of your thumbnail. So the side which is facing up, take that up. And then come to the next finger. It's all on the side of the nail. Then the next finger. Skip the ring finger, I'll tell you why later. Jump to the little finger. It's the side again, the same upper side. And then back to the karate chop. I think there are a few people in the waiting room. Let me just get them in. Yeah. Okay. So the reason we skip the meridian on the ring finger is because on the ring finger, the meridian is on the underside. But it gets confusing if you're doing all from up and then one you switch and do it from down. And anyway, this point is repeated on the face. So we just skip it to make it simpler. Okay. So these are the tapping points which we tap on when we practice EFT. Now I'm going to show you in a bit how we actually do it. We'll do a live session with somebody. And but before that, let me just give you a little background about this. This therapy sort of came about in the 90s and was founded by this person called Gary Craig. Okay. And EFT is a beautiful modality that's very compatible with almost any other healing technique or healing practice. There is absolutely no as in there's no it doesn't it's a very clean practice because you dissolve all the emotions completely. So anyone can do it, most people can do it if they learn how to do it. Of course, if you want to go to a depth, then you might have to do it with an experienced practitioner, but definitely surface level healing can be done by most people if they learn the tapping points and how to start the practice. Now, what we talk when we say this is the very first thing, we acknowledge what it is we are feeling. For example, if I say, if somebody is angry, okay, and you say, you acknowledge what you're saying, and the very first opening sentence of it is, even though. You say, even though I'm feeling whatever. So just repeat that for yourself. Even though I'm feeling angry slash sad slash exhausted slash stressed, whatever it is that you're feeling. If you want to write it down, please write it down because this is very useful. And I again invite you to come on camera so that I can see if you're doing this correctly. Because I definitely want you to learn this properly in this session because it's something that you can use for the rest of your life and you can even teach it to people around you. There have been cases where, sometimes a person next to you may be sitting on a flight and the person is having some sort of anxiety, and you just help them tap, and suddenly you feel they are calming down. And that's such a beautiful experience if you can help somebody, or even for yourself, right? So let's learn it properly. Let's learn it thoroughly. Let me see you do it so that I know it's happening correct. So even though I'm feeling whatever, dash, I still choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. I'm repeating this. Even though, so repeat this aloud. Wherever you are, even though you're all muted, repeat this aloud so that it gets into your subconscious memory. Even though I'm feeling whatever, and whatever it is in this moment, if you're stressed, say that. So take this example and don't just say it as an example, make it a real healing session for yourself right now. Even though, and I will ask you to share your experiences at the end if you want to. So definitely pay attention to the process and see the before and after. Even though, repeat, I'm feeling whatever. If you need a moment to see what you're feeling, take that moment and see. I still choose to deeply and completely, that's, you can, I mean, deeply and completely is optional. Love, accept, and forgive myself. Let's say it one more time so that we really remember it well. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, stressed, angry, sad, irritated, annoyed, whatever. I'm just giving negative examples because that's what we want to remove from our system. Confused, lost. I still choose. Hi, Neha. Nice to see you. I see many familiar names, but I need to see you guys too. I still choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. Okay? Now, we're going to start with a process where I'm going to show you how we reduce the intensity of whatever it is we are feeling. And before we get into the actual demo of that or the actual practice of that, let me first see if, let me ask you, why is it necessary to process stuck emotion or heavy emotion out of our system? Can anyone tell me why? You can just raise your hand and I can unmute you. Or maybe, I don't know if you have. Yeah, just raise your hand or you can type it in the chat box. What happens if you just keep that baggage inside you? Yeah, Amrisha?
We get triggers. They find sources to come out like at the most unexpected places when, yeah.
Absolutely. If you don't remove root cause issues, then very unexpectedly, in sometimes even in completely different situations, those root causes, those become trigger points, and something that doesn't seem connected can trigger that, and suddenly you have a very strong reaction coming and you don't even realize why till you actually go in and reflect deeply enough on that. What else? What happens if you don't, like, this is one perfect example of it. The triggers remain inside and you always get that. How many of you have noticed that some people just get angry very easily? Nothing happens, but they have some anger issue. And you know that they've gone through a lot in their past, and the anger comes out in all unrelated things. Have you met somebody like that? I'm sure you must have seen somebody like that. Okay, because those past issues are still lying in their subconscious, and the triggers are any small thing can trigger that, and that's why the small external what's happening makes a big reaction. But what happens to that person's state in that case? What happens when you don't release those stuck emotions? Type it out and let me know. Do you think it's very healthy to carry stuck emotion in your body, negative energy?
No, because at a later point in time, they also kind of tend to become diseases and illnesses in our life, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Because all of these diseases start at the energy level. All diseases start at the energy level. When the energy is not flowing correctly in the body, when there is stuck energy in your body, over a period of time it becomes denser and denser, and then that manifests into sickness. And if it keeps going on, it creates disease. And sometimes it can even create life threatening diseases. And there are miraculous stories where people, even having extreme diseases, have healed themselves holistically because they have gone into emotional healing. Sometimes people who've been extremely sick, they go into emotional healing and suddenly all of that physical illness just goes away. It happens because our body and mind are, it's one, it's not two separate things. Our body and mind, it's one unit, it's one system. So whatever's going on your mind, it's going to influence your body. So if you're carrying anxiety, if you're carrying anger, if you're carrying any grief, if you're carrying all of that, you need to consciously process it out of your system so that it doesn't manifest into sickness and disease over time. Yeah. So, this is a very important reason why we need to clear this energy out of our system so that we can. And you'll notice when we are healing, it all comes out, and you'll see sometimes people's faces only start changing. They start looking like different people. They don't even look the same because their whole energy has shifted so much. There's a radiance that comes about, all that stress, that whatever was on their faces, all of it goes away. EFT can be used to heal a lot of, let me just tell you about what all kinds of things you can heal with this. So, anything to do with emotional root cause. And sometimes you may not even know that a thing has an emotional root cause. So, of course, if a person has gone through, say, a divorce, can you not imagine the stress? High level of stress. That is emotional healing required there. Somebody has experienced loss of a loved one. High level of sadness, emotional healing. Somebody experiences death of a loved one. High level of emotion stuck, emotional healing required. Somebody was not treated properly in the past, maybe harassed, maybe violated. Very, very deep emotional healing required. Any kind of abuse, emotional healing required. Because if these things are not cleaned out of your system, that person is always living in a state of trauma response. You know, that trauma response is always active. What else? Even for small issues. For example, you had a fight with your partner or your spouse, stressed because of that. Emotional healing required. Because otherwise, the next time you talk, you expect that conversation to lead to a fight again. So you'd have to get that energy out so that next time you can start afresh. In the office, if you have a toxic work environment, when you come home, clean it out of your system. Get your own energy back and grounded and centered again. What about now? Sometimes there are also cases where people have cravings, the craving to smoke, the craving to consume alcohol, but in an unhealthy level, craving for any other kind of substance, craving for anything else. And it's more like and trying to fulfill an emotional need. It's not just because you want to smoke, it's because there is an emotional void inside, and that is just sort of suppressing that feeling. So that is also emotional healing. So EFT can also cure, not cure, I don't want to say cure, but heal things which show up as cravings. Fears and phobias. Sometimes people have fear of heights, fear of dark spaces, fear of flying on an airplane, fear of certain insects, animals, whatever. Fear of sometimes even things that don't seem to be, the type that give you a fear. I was in the last, so I was, Priya knows this. There was this incident of this lady who had a phobia of snakes, to the extent where if there was a picture of a snake on a phone, she would say, keep that phone far away from me. I don't even want to look at that phone. Forget the picture on the phone. I don't want to look at the device. I don't want to look at the gadget only. That was the level of phobia. And in one session of EFT, it was cleared out. The next day, she goes to a toy shop and she buys a toy snake. So that was one example. Another example I was telling her was allergies. Sometimes even allergies have root causes in emotion. There was an instance where this one lady developed an allergy towards corn and she never had it before. But suddenly it came up, and then it was very strange because she was eating corn all her life until a certain point, and suddenly something happened where some trigger came up, and after that, the allergy suddenly showed up in a very strong way. Through EFT, the root cause was assessed, and it came to know. I mean, what the practitioner brought out of her system was that she had been, when she was a child, there was a morning when she was in her house, and suddenly her parents broke out into this huge fight, massive fight, and it became a bit violent. And at that time, she was having breakfast when this happened. And what was she having for breakfast? Can you guess? She was having cornflakes. Now, obviously, this was not a conscious decision to make cornflakes the root cause of an allergy. But what happened at the subconscious level, her subconscious mind registered the external experience, both these two external experiences of what she was eating with the violence outside, and just joined it. So at the subconscious level, the food that she was eating, which was corn, and that whole, the body reaction she had to that violence happening around her, parents fighting, got merged. And every time the she ate corn, the body gave that allergic reaction towards it because it said, no, this is danger, this is danger. Where it was not the food, it was actually what was going on. But this is how trauma gets stuck in the body. And if you don't separate it, then you have all these issues happening. And all of these are what we call psychosomatic, because it's the root cause of it is all mental. So when you separate these two at the subconscious level, guess what? She could eat cornflakes again. She could eat corn again. So isn't it lovely when you can just live free of all of this? And the best part is that at least surface level EFT healing is something that anyone can do, even children can do. And I've had beautiful experiences. I've had a client who I worked with, and she taught her daughter basic level tapping. And then she sent me a video of her daughter saying, even though I'm feeling scared, I still choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. And when I saw that, I was really blown away because children learn actually much faster than us. So please learn this not just for yourself, but for every person around you, and definitely teach your children as well. So if you want to teach your children well, do it well yourself and let me see that you're doing it well. So now let's do a demo. Is there anybody who'd like to process anything that you've been carrying? And before I do that, I would like everyone who's on this call to please create a safe space, because we are doing this collectively. This is not a private healing session. This is a group healing session. So, of course, I will not go to the same depth because I don't want to go into somebody's very personal issues in a group healing session. Unless that person wants me to, then we can, because then it'll be a learning for everyone. But before we open up that kind of thing, I would like all of you to please give me your assurance that this is a safe space, in the sense, whatever happens here, just leave it here, okay? And do not judge the person for what they are sharing. Absolutely no space for any kind of judgment. Because when you're doing a healing session for anyone as a practitioner, you cannot truly see the person in their suffering and judge them if you want to heal them, if you want to help them heal. So all judgment has to be completely dropped. So all of you have to give me, we'll only start it once I get every single hand showing me that this is a safe space. So if you're on camera, show me your hand. If you're off camera, raise your virtual hand so that I can see it. Okay, thank you, Mona. Thank you, Amrisha. Thank you, Sneha. Thank you, Neha. Thank you, Vishal. Okay. Thank you, Saurya. Okay, guys, if you're not raising your hand, we're not starting, because I'm not going to invite anybody into a space that's not safe. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Dr. Kausar. Lovely to see you here.
Same here, Saatvika. I really miss you so much, dear.
Thank you, dear. Likewise. Okay, Gurpreet, Chandru, Ashwin, Vaishali, I need to see your virtual hand so that we can start. And who wants to do a demo? Thank you, Chandru. Thank you, Mona. Thank you, Gurpreet. Okay, does anybody want to process anything here?
I
Amrisha. Sure, Amrisha. Thank you for being brave enough to step forward. Really appreciate your courage. Come,
So shall I share?
go
Yeah.
ahead.
So I lost my father to COVID in 2021.
Okay.
And since then, I've been carrying this anger and emotion. I mean, I'm not able to process. I haven't been able to process.
Yeah,
I just wanted to be brave enough for everybody. But
yeah,
I see there are times when when I'm driving or even in some situations, I feel so much anger. At
yeah,
times, I don't know, like when I start crying,
yeah,
it has been happening. And plus, there are times when I think that had I spent more time with him, because I wasn't even able to see him off, say goodbye.
yes.
So I'm carrying that, and there are times when I get the flashes. So I don't think I'm able to process that properly.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, and I'm very sorry to know that. And I'm sure everybody over here is going to be very, very kind and supportive in tapping. Now, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to do the process with Amrisha, but we are all going to tap along. Amrisha has these emotions because of this particular reason. But those same emotions are in all of us, maybe not for the same reason, maybe for similar reasons, maybe for other reasons. We all have some anger for something, some sadness for something. So when we tap with her, firstly, we dissolve this heavy energy which she's been carrying collectively. So it creates a very collective healing energy, which is beautiful. And we also heal ourselves at the same time. So the best thing about this is we do not absorb any of it. All of us dissolve that energy together, and it creates a beautiful openness and expansion that we will all feel soon. Okay, so Amrisha, let's begin. Let's put you on the spotlight with me. Can we put two people in the spotlight? Like, is that add spotlight? Yeah. So now I guess you can all see both of us together, right? Yeah. So, Amrisha, um, can you tell me where do you feel? So you said it's sadness and anger that you can identify primarily, right?
Yes.
And can you tell me right now in your body, just close your eyes for a second and tell me where in your body do you feel this emotion? Is it in a specific area
Here, I feel it here the most.
on the heart
Yes,
center?
I also get panic attacks.
Very good. And just again connect with that feeling. Tell me, how does it feel? Is it like a feeling of heaviness? Is it like a feeling of tightness? Is it something else? Is it like a, like a tight, very tight? Is it, how do you feel it? Just tell me. Describe it as much as you can.
Makes me feel very heavy and restless. Like I am unable to concentrate on anything. Either I can't even sit,
Yeah.
and my sometimes my body starts trembling.
Yeah. So close your eyes right now. Go into the heart's area specifically, where you're feeling it in the most intensity. And tell me, what is the sensation like in the heart space? Heart means heart center, the energetic heart.
Heaviness, a
Heavy.
lot of heaviness.
Okay, very nice. And can you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is it? So if it's nothing at all, it's 0. If it's strong, it's 10. If it's somewhere in the middle, 5, 6, whatever the number is. If it's extreme, you can go beyond 10, like 100 on 10, 1,000 on 10, whatever it is. How strong is the feeling right now?
On a scale of 10, it's almost close to 9.
9, 9 on 10. So just let's make a note of that, everybody. Right now, the heaviness in the intensity of this heaviness is a 9 on 10, as in it's very heavy. Okay. Now, can you just go back, feel that heaviness, and tell me, do you see a color that comes up?
It's kind of smoky.
Smoky, like dark gray, light gray, anything else? Any other?
Combination of dark and light is like what I'm seeing through right now, feeling.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is there any image that comes to mind when you do this?
Not able to right now.
Okay. Is there any sound? Or any words?
So what I feel, what I can hear in my head right now is like gasping for breath.
Gasping for breath. Very nice. You're able to really get into it. And what does that gasping for breath feel like? Is it like helplessness, desperation? What does that mean? What does that gasping for breath make you feel like?
Helpless and wanting to break free. Like I want to come out of it. I don't want to feel the same because it's not helping me at all.
Very good. And I think you really, let's start. So the reason I'm asking Amrisha about the color, the image, the sound is because this is how our subconscious mind gives us the hints about what we are carrying inside. Okay, sometimes it may come out as a color, sometimes it may come out as an image, sometimes it may come out as words that were spoken to us, or some sound like some words that we may hear from within ourselves. So, whatever, like if something comes, sometimes nothing comes, that's also fine. Now we're going to start the process and we're going to see how the intensity changes. So let's tap, and Amrisha, I'm going to be saying something, you repeat after me based on what you've just shared with me. If
Okay.
something is incorrect and needs to be changed, please feel free to correct me. Okay. So let's start. Even though, repeat,
Even though.
and everyone else, please repeat because you
Mm.
all have similar emotions, not for this reason, but for other reasons. Everyone here has, we are all human beings with an emotional system, right? So everyone has to repeat this, and we're all going to do this collectively.
Even though
I'm feeling this heaviness
I'm feeling this heaviness
in my heart,
in my heart,
it's a 9 on 10.
it's a 9 on 10.
It's really heavy.
It's really heavy.
I still choose
I still choose
to deeply and completely
to deeply and completely
love,
love,
accept,
accept,
and forgive myself.
and forgive myself.
This heaviness in my heart,
This heaviness in my heart.
gray color, smoky gray,
Gray color, smoky gray,
like gasping for breath,
like gasping for breath,
just want to break free.
just want to break free.
I still choose
I still choose
to love,
love,
accept,
accept,
and forgive myself.
and forgive myself.
Even though
Even though
I'm feeling this anger
I'm feeling this anger
and this sadness,
and this sadness,
and sometimes this restlessness,
and sometimes it's restlessness,
I still choose
I still choose
to love,
to love,
accept,
accept,
and forgive myself.
and forgive myself.
Now I've pretty much summed up the whole thing with the karate chop. Now we're going to take little bits of everything and tap on the specific points. Take two fingers. This heaviness on my chest,
This heaviness on my chest,
in the heart space.
in the heart space,
It's a 9 on 10.
it's a 9 on 10,
Smoky gray.
smoky gray,
Feeling sadness,
feeling sadness,
feeling anger,
feeling anger,
feeling restlessness,
feeling restlessness,
feeling helpless,
feeling helpless,
gasping for breath,
gasping for breath,
just want to break free,
just want to break free,
feeling sad,
feeling sad,
feeling angry,
feeling angry,
this heaviness
this heaviness
on my chest,
on my chest,
so heavy, so heavy,
so heavy,
this heaviness,
this heaviness,
9 on 10,
9 on 10,
smoky gray,
smoky gray,
even though,
even though
okay, let's do it one more round. This heaviness,
this heaviness,
gasping for breath,
gasping for breath,
smoky gray,
smoky gray,
9 on 10,
9 on 10,
heavy in the heart space,
heavy in the heart space,
restless,
restless,
feeling very restless,
feeling very restless,
want to break free,
want to break free,
don't want to stay stuck here,
don't want to stay stuck here,
feeling very helpless,
feeling very helpless,
sad,
sad,
angry,
angry,
so sad,
so sad,
so angry,
so angry,
so sad.
so sad.
I'm so sad inside.
I'm so sad inside.
I'm carrying this sadness in my heart.
I'm carrying this sadness in my heart.
And I'm carrying this anger in my heart.
And I'm carrying this anger in my heart.
And I'm carrying this loss in my heart.
And I'm carrying this loss in my heart.
And it really feels like a big weight
And it really feels like a big weight
on my heart.
on my heart.
And I've been carrying this weight for a few years.
I've been carrying this weight for a few years.
And it's really been weighing me down
And it's really weighing me down
to the point that I feel so like I need to, like I'm gasping for breath,
to the point that now I feel gasping for breath,
helpless,
helpless,
weighing me down
weighing me down
so much
so much.
I cannot even breathe freely.
I cannot even breathe freely.
I'm gasping for breath.
I'm gasping for breath.
So sad,
So sad,
so angry,
so angry,
so restless.
so restless.
This weight
This weight
in my heart,
in my heart,
on the chest,
on the chest,
in my heart,
in my heart,
even though
even though
I feel this weight,
I feel this weight,
smoky gray,
smoky gray,
9 on 10,
9 on 10,
creating anger,
creating anger,
sadness and restlessness,
sadness and restlessness,
helpless,
helpless,
gasping for breath,
gasping for breath,
even though
even though
all of this weighs me down.
all of this weighs me down.
I feel it on my chest,
I feel it on my chest,
like a weight on the heart.
like a weight on my heart.
I still choose
I still choose
to deeply
to deeply
and completely
and completely
and unconditionally
and unconditionally
love,
love,
accept,
accept,
and forgive myself.
and forgive myself.
Take a deep breath. Exhale. Everybody exhale. Let's do one more. Take a deep breath. And exhale, everyone. So now, Amrisha, just go back to that same feeling in the heart space. Tell me what it feels like now after this process. So much. This part of it. Is it still in the same area? What does it feel like now? Is it still on 9 on 10?
It's not 9 on 10, it's 7.5 on 10.
Yeah. So you see, the intensity has reduced. We have done one round of tapping, the intensity has come down from 9 to 7.5. Is it still in the same area? Because sometimes when we start healing, the energy moves through the body, so it can shift to a different place.
Still at the same place.
Still the same place. Is it still a feeling of heaviness? Or does it feel different right now?
When we started, it was really heavy, but now intensity has reduced a
Is
bit.
the intensity still continuing to reduce? Because sometimes it takes a few moments for it to dissolve. Okay, so stay with it for a moment, and then we'll reevaluate the number of the intensity in like a few seconds. Let that energy just dissolve to the maximum that it is dissolving. Don't wait for it to dissolve, just observe it in a very neutral way, as if you're just understanding what's happening. Just close your eyes and connect with your body. Feel what's going on inside. And the others, you might also feel this going on for you if you are carrying any such kind of emotion in your own system, and if you have tapped along with us. I can feel energetically a lot of release going on. I can feel that heaviness coming out, so I know that it is being released. When you feel that it has sort of stabilized at a certain intensity, then let me know, but don't rush it. Let it take its time and let me know once it has sort of stabilized.
Better now.
Yeah.
Like
Now,
calm.
what is the intensity now? Is it like much very different, or what is it like on a scale of 10?
It's come down to 5.
Yeah, so can you see from 10, it has become half. The intensity of that heaviness has reduced by half. And we've just done one round of tapping. And in a complete session, we should actually go down to 0. But when we do that, we sometimes have to open up incidents which might be private. So I'm not sure that we can do that over here. But Amrisha, is there anything that you want to process further within? But if you want to do it, we can do it as well.
I think I'm good for now.
You're good for now. Yeah. I don't want to go into something that's because you see, when we go into the deepest root of it, sometimes there may be memories that come up, sometimes there may be other things that come up, and that is all private. And I don't want to open that up in a group session. Uh, unless that is what Amrisha wants. But otherwise, I think we've all got an idea of how, and Amrisha is also feeling a little better, and we've all tapped along with her. So we all feel that release to even a small degree within ourselves if we were feeling the same things, even in a different situation. So the situation sometimes doesn't even matter because what you're saying, even though I'm feeling angry, even though I'm feeling sad, I still love, accept, and forgive myself. You may be feeling angry with your child or with somebody in the family. But in that case, also the anger would dissolve because you tapped along with Amrisha right now. Okay? So the thing is that when you have any kind, so I would like to know, I mean, I will ask you to share your observations about the process, but before that, one very important thing I want you all to note is whenever you feel a so-called negative emotion, we label emotions as negative, but in reality, it's not negative. If Amrisha was not feeling sad in this case, probably there would be some disconnect somewhere, because this is the natural response that a person would have, and it's a very healthy thing. The only thing is that that energy of sadness has to be processed out sometimes, or even anger, maybe because of the sudden, the unexpected way in which something happened. So the anger at whatever, for having let that happen in a very unexpected way, or the way. So if she was not feeling angry, maybe it would be like the reaction would not be complete, but because she's feeling angry, that means she's functioning normally. But because the intensity of that incident was strong, the emotional response is also there, and that has to be consciously channeled out. Make sense? Now, for example, supposing you go and somebody has an accident, okay? You have an accident, you survive, but it is a huge shock on the nervous system. And after that, you just can't sit in a car again. Why? That's trauma. Because what happened, you were not prepared for it at that time. Because you were not prepared, you just faced it bravely in the moment, but you took that blow and you stuffed it inside. You stuffed it into your energy system because you did not know how to process it with everything else going on at that time. This is what trauma does to us. Most of the times when things happen, we are not prepared for it. It happens unexpectedly. So we become strong, we face that situation in the way we need to in the moment, but there is an energetic blow to our emotional body. We take that and we stuff it down to process it later on in time. But until we do that, it gets stuffed into our system. Now, for example, I'm going to bring up a sensitive example. Imagine somebody who's gone through childhood abuse, okay? Sexual abuse. Does a child know how to process emotions of that kind of intensity? Does a child know how to process emotion? Sorry, let me just change the spotlight. Um, does a child know how to process emotions of that kind of intensity? Definitely not. Even adults don't know how to do it, right? Till later on. So what does a child do? The child keeps quiet or the child cries, maybe, but most of the times the child doesn't even do that. The child just keeps quiet because it goes into extreme shock. It takes that incident and stuffs it down because it doesn't know what to do with it. And then for years to come, that trauma response is always triggered. Either there is a fear of the opposite sex, or there is an anger towards the opposite sex, or whatever. I'm giving you an example of how that emotion stays inside until you consciously remove it and throw it out. Okay, so this has to be thrown out of our system. We have to do this, and all of us need healing. All of us. There is nobody on this planet who does not need healing because we have all lived life. We are all living life with all kinds of experiences. So it's not like if a person goes for a healing session, they are like, oh, she needs healing or he needs healing. No, we all need healing. Everyone needs healing. It's a maintenance thing. Am I there? Internet seems to be a little. Priya, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, Satvika.
Yes, Satvika, we can hear you. You're good.
So that way, okay. So again, coming back to the car example, person can't sit in a car for some time after that. Another example, the person I knew was in a building in Bhuj when the earthquake happened. After that, he could never get inside a lift and go up. He could never get into a lift after that. But if he did EFT, he could have come out of it. EFT cleans up all that stuff. Okay, so this is how we come back to a state of healthy balance again so that we're not affected and triggered. Otherwise, we are constantly living in that state of trauma response, which is very unhealthy for us. So, when I was doing this session, something that you might have noticed, and if you did not notice it, let's talk about it now, is we spoke about certain emotions which normally are called negative, but in reality, there's nothing like negative. If a child was abused and did not feel angry later on in life, there would be something abnormal. Okay? Or if you were insulted by your boss and you didn't feel angry, you would feel there would be something abnormal. Like that anger, you may not even be in touch with that anger. Some people just feel like quiet and fearful. But later on, when they start healing, all that anger comes out because it's all there, but they've not been in touch with it. But that energy is there. So there is nothing like a bad emotion. In fact, even when I'm doing sessions with people, I say, whatever comes up, let's give it a free space for it to come out. If you want to scream in the session, you're welcome to scream. If you want to cry in the session, you're welcome to cry. If you want to abuse somebody, you can abuse. If you want to visualize something like you're literally killing a person, I'm letting you do that here. Okay? And I know people are here and have had these experiences and they are quite healing. So if we don't get, so there's nothing like a bad emotion. We just have to remove that label of bad and let that energy out. And how do we heal that? Do we fight it? If you fight it, what's going to happen? From a 9, it will become 100. It will become even more strong. The only way you can heal it is by accepting it. So when you start with, even though I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling sad, even though means you're letting it happen. You're not stopping the reality of this moment from happening as it's happening. You're allowing it space to happen. I'm allowing myself to be angry. I'm allowing myself to be sad. Whatever it is I'm feeling, I'm letting it happen. I accept. Very first step is accept. You cannot heal without complete acceptance of what you're feeling. And then you say, I still choose to love myself, accept myself, and forgive myself. So you have to love yourself in that so called ugly state. Okay, it's not really ugly because actually, that inside that so called ugliness is our brightest light. So if you are brave enough to go into that so called ugliness, into that shadow self, and get in touch with that, you will experience the biggest expansion energetically, because that is where your brightest light lies. Does that make sense? So you need to actually see this shadow self of yours that is angry, that is sad, that is upset, that is hurt, that is irritated, that is exhausted, whatever you are feeling, and love it in that state. Okay, so Amrisha, now just close your eyes again, and everyone, and I'm just going to do a very, very quick extension. And I want you to see this part, this version of yourself in front of you. This actually steps a little into inner child healing, but since inner child healing blends very well with EFT, I'm just going to complete a little bit more of the healing for her, because I want her to go out feeling as good as she possibly can, or as free as she possibly can, rather, and anyone else who's feeling any kind of similar emotion. So, Amrisha, see yourself here in front of you with this heaviness, with this anger, with this restlessness, with this gasping for breath, with all of what you felt in a few moments ago. See this girl in front of you, your own self in front of you, as a different person. And anyone else feeling anything, do the same with whatever you're feeling for your own self in front of you. And you'll see that you may even not like what you see, because we tend to judge. Now drop that judgment towards yourself. Likes, dislikes, drop all of it. Just see that person with no liking, disliking, none of that. And now, with the utmost love and compassion, go and embrace that person completely, with all the negative, so called negative, that he or she is carrying. And say, I accept all of this. I accept you completely. I accept this anger. I accept this sadness. I accept this grief. I accept this anxiety. I accept whatever it is that you see yourself holding on. And go and hug that person till you feel, just go and hug that person. And that person may not even be ready to receive the hug, because sometimes we've rejected that person, that version of ourselves, for so long. So if that happens, take some time, but don't step back. I need you to connect with this part of yourself completely. Sometimes you may have said something to somebody, you may not be feeling good, and you may be feeling really bad about yourself. See that person who spoke like that and just go and hug her. And now, energetically feel that embrace. Keeping your eyes closed, energetically, almost physically feel that energetic connection with her or him. And tell that person, I'm not going away. Even if you're very angry, even if you spoke very rudely, even if you slapped somebody, even if you, whatever you did, I'm not going to move back. I love you. I accept you and I forgive you. Unconditionally. Unconditionally means accepting the so-called flaws. And keep hugging that person. And for some people, you might have to take a little longer to connect, because that divide has been there for a while. Doesn't matter. Take your time with it. And eventually start to feel that distance sort of close in, that separation become lesser and lesser, those barriers dissolve, and a feeling of integration between both of you, a feeling of oneness, a feeling of coming together and becoming one. If you get into that space, that is when the healing can be completed. So Amrisha, I want you to hug yourself, the person who is feeling so sad, gasping for breath. Hug her, tell her you're safe. I'm with you. Everyone say the same thing. I'm with you. I still love you. I forgive you. I accept you unconditionally. When you feel like the two are merging together, then stay there, let that integration become complete, and only then open your eyes when that integration is complete with your own shadow self, which is no longer a shadow because you brought it back into the light, and the light is your own love for it. It's so simple. As long as you reject this part of yourself, it goes into a shadow. When you embrace this part of you, it becomes a light body again. Amrisha, do you feel the merging happening? Yeah? So so Amrisha, share what you felt.
So I share the exact visual I saw. So I saw myself sitting like this, and then a part of me came
Yeah,
the visuals and telling you what I saw. She
yeah,
picked her up and was like, "It's okay.
yeah.
You'll be fine. You're fine.
Very
It's
nice.
absolutely okay. What you're feeling is absolutely okay,
Mm.
and it's gonna be fine. Don't worry." Is that what I felt?
And now what do you feel the intensity in the heart space now? Is any of that left there?
2.5 to 3. It's a little bit of it is there, but then I'm feeling much, much, much better.
Yeah, it's still processing.
Yes.
Yeah. So you see from 9 with the first round of tapping, it came down to 5, and now it's come down to 2.5, 3, and it's still processing out. So if she had continued holding on to that 10, do you think she would have been able to function normally the rest of the day? That weight itself is it's a load. How can you do other things freely, right? And not just her, all of us, we all have some sort of weight we are all carrying inside. Anybody else wants to share an experience about what they experienced through today's healing while you were doing it for yourself? I'd love to see how it impacted others who were not in the same situation but tapping along and doing the healing. Anyone? Yeah, Neha? Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning, when I came, I was feeling a little stressed towards something. And and I thought that, okay, maybe, later on, if I get a chance, maybe we can tap on it, or maybe I can share it with you. However, I felt that, while we were doing
Yeah.
the tapping for Amisha, and then later on, when you asked, everyone, how are you feeling now after the tapping was over? I felt
Yeah.
that, that stress actually on its own flow away. A bit, I mean, not all of it, but
Yeah.
quite, yeah. So, I mean, right in the beginning when I had come and what I was feeling and what I'm feeling now, I guess there's 50% change in that.
Oh. So when you tapped, did you say that I'm feeling stressed, or did you do the tapping exactly as we were doing it for that situation?
I did the tapping exactly as
So you didn't
you
even
were
say
doing.
it like you were saying, I'm
No,
and
yeah,
in fact, see, in this case, even the emotion wasn't directly addressed, and still the tapping process brought it down so much. So then
yeah,
you just tap on the stress, it still comes down further. So
yeah.
when we're all tapping together, we're actually healing ourselves. And honestly, anything else, Neha, that you want to share?
Um, No, just that, I guess. Yeah, but I'd like to say, yeah, there's one thing that's on my mind that I'd just like to say now that I've got the chance,
Yeah.
that I have done EFT sessions with Saatvika. And, we had done it, of course, on a completely different topic at that point of time. And it was a very heavy topic. It was, considering domestic violence, etc. And it has helped me tremendously. Even those few sessions that I took with her, they were, yeah. So, I mean, anyone, I would totally recommend EFT. And I'd say that, yeah.
Thank you so much, Neha. And honestly, I want to say that people who choose to go through the healing process like Neha, they are warriors. Never ever think that a person who's going for a healing session is somebody who's weak. They are stronger than any of us because they are ready to face the wounds that are there inside. So have the deepest respect for such people because they are warriors. Okay. Anytime in your life you come across somebody who's going for healing, respect them because they are much stronger than anybody else. And any healer has had to heal themselves, then only they become healers. So I always tell all my clients that what you're doing for yourself is going to help not just you, it's going to help a whole circle, and that's going to go out in a ripple effect in the world outside. Because once you heal yourself, it's like a training ground. You heal yourself so much that it automatically helps you heal others, and then they start healing others, and it creates this beautiful energy that goes out into the universe. So please, anybody who's gone through any kind of, and the more healing you've done, the bigger the more you'll share out later on. So thank you, Neha. You're a warrior, and I know that for a fact. So thank you for sharing your experience. Amrisha also, you're also a warrior. And yeah, so this is how, even when we tap together, when we tap with each other, we are actually healing ourselves. And in fact, when I'm doing healing sessions, honestly, I am healing myself with the client. The client may think that I'm doing the session for them, but I'm doing it for both of us. And I've always seen it happens like the kind of, this is something that not just me, but anybody who's in the healing arts will often feel and tell you. Very often, the clients who come in front are people who are going through something that you have gone through sometime in your own life. And when you do the healing with them, you are re-healing yourself, and the universe sends you those kinds of clients. And you don't even know how it happens. It just happens by some unseen force. So there is an intelligence that makes this happen. And I'm telling you this from what I have experienced.
Yeah, it's true. You're an energetic vibrational match, right? So that's how people get together. Okay, that was lovely, Satvika. Thank you so much. And thank you, Neha and Amrisha, for sharing your experiences and being brave to come on. I just have a couple of questions and then we'll open it out to the audience.
Yeah.
So, Satvika, are these the only tapping points or are there many more tapping points on the body?
So for the process of EFT, it's just this. Um, of course, there are many more points on the body where the meridians are close to the surface of the skin, but we don't really incorporate that into EFT tapping because we just want to tap upon the main one so that that energy, that stuck energy flows out of our system. So for the purpose of our own healing, this is enough.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. And then we did it on a particular issue or a negative emotion to call it, but
Yeah.
then can we also do it on a positive emotion to amplify it?
Um, So the thing is that when we tap, we generally want to release that emotion.
Okay.
When you're doing it on something positive, there is really nothing to release because your energy is already open. So in that case, that label of negative and positive is just used to distinguish, though I don't want to call it negative and positive, but
Exactly.
you feel the frequency or you feel the vibration of that emotion. Now, for example, the vibration of fear, guilt is heavy.
Yeah.
You know this saying, paralyzed with fear? Why is that saying paralyzed with fear? Because the emotion of fear is so heavy that it just grounds you or just roots you down. It makes you stop. It's such a slow vibration. It's just slow, heavy, low energy frequency that you can't even move. It's hardly moving. So that's why you get paralyzed with extreme fear. So that is the feeling. It's just a difference in the level of frequency. And then you're like, when you're in love and gratitude, you're like high frequency. So your frequency is already very high. The energy is already flowing when you're feeling a positive emotion. When you're feeling this kind of a heavier emotion like anger, those are lower frequencies. That's why they need processing to come out of our system.
Got it.
In
Okay.
fact, those like gratitude will in fact open up your energy. Gratitude is so like the frequency of gratitude is so high, or love, like when you do
Mhm.
bhakti yoga or seva or whatever, that love that is cultivated, that heals you
Yeah.
because the frequency is so high that it opens up your energy channels anyhow.
That's right. Okay. And are there any negative side effects? How much is like too much of doing this practice?
There's no too much.
Okay.
Because you're just removing, you're not even removing, you're just processing. So in fact, this is something that should be done every day. Anytime you have anything that moves your energy out of balance, tap on it, get it out of your system in the next 5 minutes, or just release that energy block in out of your system in the next 5 minutes, so that after half an hour you don't feel like it's a build up and a build up and it goes on from your childhood till your till you're like in your 80s or something like that, because that happens. People
Yeah.
carry things for decades and sometimes don't even know it. So don't do that when you're aware of it. That's why a cultivation of awareness is very important. When you can become aware of what you're carrying, you can release it.
Got it. And can we ever go wrong with it? Like I'm not trained. I've just attended one or two of your workshops. Now, can I do it on myself or do I need to be professionally trained, or is this sufficient for me to do it? But then there's also like a fear of, oh, what if I do it wrong?
Yeah, so the thing is that, okay, I think I also didn't finish the last question which you asked. Are there any side effects, you asked me?
Yeah, yeah.
There are no side effects because when we are tapping, we are releasing and we are dissolving that energy. And even the practitioner, like when I'm doing it with anybody else, I'm tapping on myself. Everyone here was tapping on themselves, so none of us absorbed any of it. We, in fact, all dissolved it, and there's nothing left of it anymore. So we don't take in anything, and there's no side effect. It's a very clean practice. In fact, after healing sessions, I actually feel my own energy has expanded. I only feel like my heart has opened up. So, in fact, it lifts me up. It doesn't drain me or
Okay.
anything.
So you don't absorb anything as a practitioner yourself. Okay.
There's nothing left to absorb in EFT. And there's no side effect. And the next thing which you asked, can I do it on myself? So, what we did now is just one, like it was a very quick demo.
Mhm.
So, if you want to tap on yourself at a surface level healing, which is recommended, I recommend it. I
Mhm.
just tell you that one statement. Even though I'm feeling whatever, I still love, accept, and forgive myself. This is basically the whole foundation of it. And if you forget the tapping points, you can just Google EFT tapping points, find a diagram, and
Yeah.
then there. But of course, it needs practice too. So you can watch a few YouTube videos to get surface level tapping, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling this, 9 on 10. So what we did was we tried to give an identity to that emotion. We gave it a number, we gave it a color, we gave it an image. So we
Mhm.
gave it an identity. So we are really acknowledging it fully and accepting it. And that itself
Got it.
is releasing it. So surface level tapping you can do on your own if you felt like you could do it after this. But most of the time people need a bit of practice. Now, when I'm working one on one with a client, usually when we do 10 sessions at a time or whatever, By the end of 10 sessions, they've done it so much that it starts happening to them. They start doing it on their own, even in other, without me, like at least to some extent. So Neha, I think you have been able to get to that point, right? Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
the beauty of doing.
definitely. I do it. I mean, I often do it for even the smallest things now. Yeah. So it becomes a way of life.
Yeah. Excellent, Neha. Keep doing it. So the thing is, when we've done enough of it together, it sort of gets into their system also, and then they start doing it as a self-care practice, as a maintenance, healthy, maintaining your energetic health, your emotional health. And it should be
Right.
that way. All of us should do it every day for all these little things also. So there's no build-up of it.
Correct. And is the talking as important as the tapping? Can I just do the tapping and will that work?
You can, when you just tap silently, also, it has a certain release effect. But when
Mhm.
you talk, you're actually releasing it energetically, verbally also. So the talking actually does help because there's a lot that happens through the talking part of it.
Right.
So yeah. And of course, like to complete the previous thing, if you want to do deep level healing, then go to a practitioner. Because what happens sometimes, like I told you, the conflicts and the fight, the allergy. The lady who came for the session did not know that it was because of her childhood incident of the fight. She did not even remember that fight consciously. Okay, she just came for this. So that requires a
An
different
expert.
level of skill to go deep, because you're removing layer after layer after layer and really going right down to the root of it. So for that, if you want to really heal, like for example, if you've
Mhm.
really suffered because of whatever, like you've been through a prolonged period of stress for whatever life situation, and now you want a reset, then please go. People often say, I don't want to go because it costs money. Don't do that to yourself, because it's going to change your life. And in fact, your whole energy is going to shift and you'll start earning properly because your energy has shifted. So just go
That's so true. Yeah.
and do this, and then start afresh on a fresh page. Okay?
Nice. And Satvika, when you teach children, is it similar or is there a different, simpler practice for children?
With children, we generally just do the surface level, but we don't say, I love, accept, and forgive myself. We just say, I'm a good girl, I'm a good boy, because that makes it easy for them.
Got
So
it.
even though I'm scared, I'm a good girl, I'm a good boy. If they are, that's only when they are very little, but once they are like 7 8, you can say, I love, accept. That my client's child who sent me the video, she said it better than her mom. I still choose to love, accept, and forgive myself. So it's not necessary to say I choose. You can just say I love, accept, and forgive. But she made it so elaborate and beautifully expressed it. So children actually do it very well. So let them learn, because they'll end up teaching you when you forget.
Of course.
Reteaching you when you forget.
It's true. And how about if somebody can't tap for themselves? Can we tap for them if they are unwell?
This can be done because you
Mhm.
can energetically connect with somebody and do something called surrogate tapping. For
So
example,
I tap on my body for them.
yes, but you
Okay.
first energetically connect with them, and then you tap as if you're tapping for them, saying what they are going through. Even though I'm like this, I'm feeling this, whatever,
Oh,
whatever, that person can't say it at that point or whatever. You say those things for them and energetically heal through your own surrogate body for them. But this
that's nice.
requires a little bit of learning, but it's very possible and doable, and people do practice it.
It's similar to one of the practices we do in Reiki as well, right?
Yes, yes, because EFT is energy healing too. EFT is energy healing. And now, for example, you want to heal your pet, the pet can't do EFT, so you can surrogate tap for your pet or anyone who's like maybe really not well or whatever.
Oh, and we can tap the pet themselves as well
No, you can tap
on me
surrogate
for the
tap.
pet. But
Yes,
then can I tap the pet as well or not?
you can, but I mean, it's just easier when you just surrogate
Yeah.
tap, yeah. Other,
Then it's very interesting. I know there's animal Reiki and then they have different points,
yeah.
but similar different points on animals, or that's
So we
something.
just do it as we are doing it for ourselves.
Okay,
So
got it.
what's happening is we're just energetically connecting, and then we're doing the
Got it.
process on us. So we do it as we normally do it on us, but we are doing it with that energetic connection with that person or
It's
animal.
interesting. And how do you know that you're done with the practice? You know, like just the feeling of relief, is that sufficient, or
So
is there
whatever
any
whatever
other?
the weight was, now see in Amrisha's case, the intensity comes down, down, down. You know when it's a zero. When it is a
Right.
zero, that's when it's done. And another clear sign of when it's done is when whatever happened, you can now, when you look at that in your mind, you can see it as a image or whatever happened, but you don't have an emotional charge that's coming up as a reaction to it.
Right.
Like
Yes.
whatever happened, supposing you had a um, you were fired from your job, and you always, it comes as a flashback. Now you reach a point where even if you think about it, there's no emotional reaction left. That
Correct.
emotional charge is completely neutralized.
So it just becomes like
Sometimes
a story in the past.
it becomes like a story in the past, and sometimes healing goes so deep that the person even forgets the whole incident. That has also happened. Like they don't even remember what they came for in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
Like in
That's
the
in one
session,
session. That's
what
very
the
cool.
session start, like sometimes there are these things, or maybe not in one session, but few sessions, what they came for in the beginning, end of it. So in fact, my trainer told me that please let the person let you know in writing what they came for. Otherwise, later they think that they don't know why they came. So let them know so that they can see it as their own progress journey later on, documented.
Very true.
Yeah.
And are the effects of EFT tapping long lasting? How long does it last?
It's permanent. Because what you're doing is, see, if you heal at the symptomatic level, for example, you keep getting a headache, okay? If you heal the headache, what you're doing is the headache is a symptom.
Right.
It's not the root cause. What is the cause of that headache if it is an emotional or a mental stress, for example? The stress has not been addressed. You're just addressing the symptom, which is just the body's way of telling you that I have a headache. So if you heal the symptom, you're not going to let it, it's not going to come out. But in EFT, we heal the root cause. We go down to the root cause of that stress or whatever it is. Maybe a memory in there, maybe an incident that created extreme stress in the past, whatever is that deepest root cause, and we pull it out from that root and it is dissolved. So when you remove the root cause, the symptoms don't keep coming up. But having said that, healing happens in layers. So sometimes one layer is removed, and then you come back for the next session, you feel that fear. Supposing you were experiencing anxiety, end of one session anxiety is gone, but next session anxiety is still there. Why? Not because the anxiety has come back, but the next layer of anxiety which was buried
Yeah.
under has come up because the top layer was cleaned out. So layer by layer it comes up as you keep removing it until there's nothing left to come out. But yes, it's permanent, and also it needs lifelong maintenance. Like Neha was saying, she keeps tapping on herself in even small things as a self-care maintenance practice. Very healthy to do that. One should keep doing that.
Yeah, true. Vishal has a question and he's asking if it's possible to give a session remotely. So I'm guessing it means yes, because we can do the surrogate tapping, right?
So the thing is that honestly speaking, if you want the best effect, do the session in person. Surrogate tapping is not to be done unless there is no option. Okay.
Okay.
So if you can do a session with, and another thing is, surrogate tapping is only done in cases. See, whenever you do any healing session for somebody, you need their permission. You can't just tap for somebody when they don't want it themselves, because the healing is not going to work. Okay.
Correct.
That person has to want it for it to work with them. And you are also violating an unseen, uh, you know,
Boundary. Yeah.
boundary by just trying to heal somebody who's not asking for it. So don't try to do that if that is what it is. But otherwise, do not. Surrogate tapping is only in very rare cases. I have personally never done surrogate tapping, or maybe once or twice I've done it, but I never do it. I never do it. Like if I'm working with an animal, I had a dog earlier, I used to give her Reiki. So you can do Reiki directly because that is direct energy healing. You don't have to tap to connect energetically, whatever. So in those cases, Reiki can be done when a person can't do EFT. Surrogate tapping also can be done, but when you can connect, when you can talk to the person, please do
Mhm.
it. And remotely, yes, I do all my sessions on Zoom, if that's what you mean. But yes, you do need to talk to that person, and that's how you'll have to have that communication for the thing to happen.
Satvika, with so many alternate healing modalities available, Reiki, inner child work, EFT tapping, NLP, so many more modalities, how does one know that this is the right technique for them?
So the thing is that if you feel emotion, if you can connect with your emotions, then you can do it. And most people can. Some people find it hard to connect with their emotions because they are very logically minded. Like they're very disconnected also with their emotions, and they're very stuck in their heads. And sometimes they don't even know what they're feeling because they've disconnected themselves. Especially, this is more, I mean, I don't want to generalize in this case, but I've seen this happen, tends to happen more in men because sometimes probably men were conditioned like you should not be emotional, and also they tend to disconnect with emotion, but that's not healthy. A healthy man should be able to connect with his own emotion. And generally, if you can feel your own emotion and if you can just say what it is you're feeling, then yeah, you can definitely do EFT. Unless you're one of those people who can't connect, like there are some people who are so logical that they can't, then in that case, it's a little harder. And then in those cases, other processes which work more via the intellect can be more effective with such people, like NLP, for example. And
Lovely.
if you
Thank
know
you. Do we have?
I'm angry means I'm feeling the emotion of anger. I'm
Yeah,
sad.
exactly.
So as long as that much basic awareness is there, then yes, you can do EFT.
Okay. Do we have any more questions from our participants? Would anyone like to ask any question?
Yeah, I have one question.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In the session, if one gets unresolved emotion or traumas popped up suddenly,
Yeah.
or breaks down in the process, what is the approach they should follow? Like, what is the
So are you asking when you're doing this by yourself, or are you
yeah,
asking when this happens in a session with a practitioner?
somebody who's doing it by their own self?
By their own self, actually, they probably would not get to that depth. If
Hmm.
it does come up also, you just continue to tap. Just acknowledge what's happening, continue to tap. If you want to stop talking and only tap, stop talking and only tap. Sometimes it gets too heavy, too intense, and you can't face, like, for example, something really bad happened. And now when
Hmm.
you're tapping and it's coming up, it's like I can't even look at what happened. It's like I'm not ready to face it yet, and I don't have a practitioner with me. And normally this is to be done with a practitioner because if it is so intense, it should be done in a safe space. But if it comes up like that, stop talking, don't do the talking part of it, and just tap on the collarbone here, three with both hands, and just keep
Okay.
tapping here. This is like one of the points where the it calms you down very quickly. And you can also, like, sometimes when I've done sessions with people and, like, there has been extreme level of trauma and they just sort of zone out of the session for a bit because, facing what happened was too intense even in the session. This happens rarely because usually EFT, the whole release process is very gentle. So little by little, we remove it, but it still removes it very deeply. But sometimes it can just come out as what is known as an ab reaction. An ab reaction is when it has been suppressed down, and suddenly the volcano explodes. And the volcano explodes, and that intensity can't be handled by that person because they are so trained in stuffing it down that when it comes up, they just can't bear it. So in that case, what we do, we stop talking, and then I ask them to just tap. And uh, if I've been in person with them, I've tapped on their hands and feet. If I've not been in person, if you're doing it on Zoom, I ask them to tap on their feet because that has a grounding effect. So the main
Hmm.
thing is ground yourself. Ground yourself. That helps to get the balance back. If the person is ready to continue, continue. If they're not ready at that time to continue, don't continue. Don't force a person to continue. You can reopen it later when they're ready for it. Sometimes a person may think they're ready for a healing, but when it actually happens, they are not ready to heal. This has happened once with me because a person went through some extreme abuse in childhood. She thought she was ready for healing, but when she came for the session, she realized that she was getting there, but she was still not ready to fully heal. So I had to just tell her, okay, I respect what you're at, and we will not force you because when you're ready, But that started the healing journey for her because she knew
Yeah,
she's still in
yeah.
charge. If I had taken away that power from her and I said, no, you have to get out of your system and all, she would have felt like she's giving away her power to me. And the trauma for her was having given her away her power. So she
Until
did.
a person is allowing themselves for to heal further. I mean, we nobody can do anything on that.
Yes. The client always has to feel, or the person who's with you always has to feel like they are um, in charge also. Like you're not controlling their experience.
Yeah, and also they need to show that accountability of their healing. That's why people come, right? Because that's when it's gonna work, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, because if you start to have to, if you start controlling the session, it's going to create a very, like a lock, it's going to create a different, it's not going to flow then. Then the whole thing gets interrupted and stopped. So we can't do it like that. We have to, in fact, we just have to allow. That's why we keep saying, I accept myself, I accept. And then suddenly what has to come up just naturally wants to come up because it's just so, we've created
Yeah.
an environment which is so accepting and forgiving that whatever's there inside and the person
Those
doesn't
people
know.
come.
Sometimes people come, they say, I want a healing session. I don't know why, but I just know I want it. And then some, all deep rooted stuff comes out because they know something has to come out.
Yeah.
So all of that comes out because you've created that environment. So the thing is create that environment and automatically it will all flow out and it's all released.
Right.
Yes.
One more question I have.
Yeah.
As when we have a difficult situation or maybe a traumatic experience sometime, so
Hmm.
at that time we are not able to digest that emotion, or the we are not able to process at that point of time.
Yeah.
Rather, what we do is like as you said, we will store it and we'll keep it with ourselves, and sometime in the future, maybe when we are alone, or we are like trying to retrospect, we kind
Yeah.
of go to that memory, we kind of recreate that scene, and we kind of live we kind of go and live that moment again. And we how do you see this particular phenomena when you see the entire thing in front of you happening, and at this point of time you do some changes on it, like the way you wanted to do, maybe you couldn't do that time, that point of time, but now you want to do it virtually with you.
Hmm.
So that process, how do you see, like whether it is kind of a healing, or like this is a natural process of healing, or something your own response?
So it just happens unconsciously because if that person has the capacity to deal with what's going on and process the emotion at the same time, they would. But most of the time, what's hit them
Mm-hmm.
doesn't give them time to really deal with what's happened at the emotional level in the moment. For example, imagine that you're married and you come to know your partner has cheated on you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, in that moment, you might react, you might have to deal with the situation, but you don't know the extent to which the emotional healing has gone down. Okay. So, those things only come up little later. In that moment, everything that has happened, or for example, any other, like even an accident, whatever, you just have to, at that moment when you know your car is hit, you just have to get up, find some safety, get to a hospital, make sure that your body is all right, all of those things after an accident. So those kinds of things are not going to give you any bandwidth to process emotions in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're an emotionally aware person, once you once the incident has passed, maybe 1 day later, 3 days later, 1 week later, you will reflect on it and you will do the emotional healing for yourself. But if you're somebody who has no awareness about how to do this, and plus you have to deal with getting back to work, looking after the family, 100 other things on your plate, it's very likely, and most of the time this is what happens, it just gets shelved. It just gets shelved. So you don't even remember after 10 days or 1 week that you had this incident, but your subconscious memory has, it's created a deep impression in the subconscious. Conscious memory has forgotten it, but subconscious memory impression is deep. And then that's what keeps giving the trigger. And then sometime later, you don't even know what the trigger is. You forget because your conscious memory has forgotten it completely. So uh, that's why It's necessary to explore triggers, go into the root causes of them, and see what comes up. And I'll give you an example. I was doing a healing session with this person. She kept getting a lot of fear coming up. When we did fear, so now whatever I'm sharing, I'm not sharing. Whenever I do a session, I always tell the client, which is a fact, that whatever happens in that space is confidential. So whatever's confidential is never going to be shared in a space like this. Only what can be shared for educational purposes, that is being shared to educate and understand the practice. So that is what is being shared, and it is always anonymous, and it is always with the permission of that person. Okay. So in this, um this person, she kept experiencing anxiety. When we did the session, it became fear. And then when we did the fear, closed her eyes, what came up? Blue color. Blue color. What is blue color? Then went into memory when she was swimming as a child, 4 years old, in the swimming pool. And the water was a little deep, and it wasn't that deep, but because she was so small at that time, it felt very deep. Obviously, right? Because it's relative. So now trauma can be okay when you were 3 years old, the person sitting next to you in class just punched you. That can be because the impression became big because you were so impressionable. That is what trauma is. Not that, it's not like trauma is always like a car crash or something like that. Trauma can be a very small thing, but the impression it leaves, that is what it is. So she was 4 years old, she was in the swimming pool, and she went to the middle of the pool where she could no longer touch the floor with her feet. And then she tried to see her parents, and then her parents were not looking at her. And she went a little down and she thought she was drowning. And that created this fear in her, which got registered in the subconscious mind. And that fear from her childhood was coming up when she was more than 35 in age, like 3 decades plus, as a fear which she did not even realize was being carried in the subconscious. When we did the healing, that memory came up, we healed that memory, and then this trigger was no longer there. This fear, which was coming up as a fear of her husband, actually was actually that fear there, a fear of having no control. So it's not the fear of the husband or the fear of the swimming pool, it's the fear of having no control. And in that fear of having no control came up in that case. And here it was the same feeling of no control coming up like this.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Saatvika, for sharing all of these examples and helping us understand the practice um, more deeply, because this is my second EFT workshop and it's made such a huge difference. So I'm now very interested in it. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing this with us. We're already, see, it's such an interesting conversation. We're 35 minutes over. So thank you so much for your time and thank you everyone for joining us. So please do follow us on social media, Sarveda Shala, on Instagram, sarveda.shala and sarveda.life. And Satvika would be AKI Yoga. So thank you very much for joining us and sign up for the newsletter for more such interesting sessions. Thank you.
So much, everyone. Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Sarveda. Thank you,
Thank
Arjun.
you.
Thank you to everyone who's been here and to all those who participated in this session. And one thing that I'd just like to say in closing this is EFT at a very deep level is not different from yoga. What is yoga? Yoga is connection with your highest self. EFT is removing all those layers which stop you from being your highest self. So it is, in fact, a practice of yoga through a different modality, but ultimately it leads you back on the same journey. So keep practicing.
Thank you. Thank you, Satvika. Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Priya, for being a wonderful host. Thank you, Satvika.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.